Okay, we are live now. Good evening if you are tuning in from Asia, and good afternoon if you are from Europe and Palestine. I am Zani, the host and organizer of the Forces of Renewal Southeast Asia Activist and Intellectual Radical Network, supporting democratic and liberation struggles across Southeast Asia, Asia, and now Palestine. I'm deeply honored to host this forum with five very distinguished activist scholars, three from Italy. Actually, there's another one that's also here, Rima. Her participation was not announced yet. And then we have Lubna, the head of the Greenwich Palestine Alliance. She's Palestinian herself. And so today we will hear from these very distinguished and grounded activists and priests. There's one, Father Pietro Rossini from northern Italy, joining us. And so today we'll hear from how Italian civil society and the public shut down the entire nation over 100 cities where people demanded the Italian government of Maloney take concrete action instead of keeping uh, staying in cahoot with the genocidal regime of Israel. So, without further ado, let me just give the floor to Michael Leonardo. Michael is a well known writer, journalist, educator, and vice president of this Tree Water, an initiative that has work on the ground in Palestine. And he's originally from Italy, Ohio, United States, but he is Italian American. He lives in Naples. Michael, the floor is yours.
Yes. Good afternoon. Actually, today I'm coming to you from my home on the island of Procida, which is off the coast of Naples, where we also founded a group here called Procida for a Free Palestine, Stop the Genocide. And let's go right into what happened on Monday. On This was what I see as a culmination of really hard work that's been put in at the local level across the country with building sensitivity and awareness of what's happening since October 7th with this genocide. There have been cultural events, demonstrations happening, building over 2 years nonstop. But nobody expected what happened on Monday. It was like finally the pulse of the nation was tapped into in a way that nobody could really expect. Um, I want to preface what happened on Monday with what happened on Friday, and also just the weeks leading up until Monday. And really also something that people are asking all the time, why in Italy is there such this strong movement compared to other places? Now, it hasn't been like this from the beginning. We've had some larger demonstrations, and especially recently, there were more and more spontaneously, quickly organized, larger and larger demonstrations happening across the country. But it's taken a while to get to this point. And many times we've looked, for example, to England and said, oh, why can't we have a million people demonstrating in the streets like they do in London? And there's demographic and whatever. But on Friday, the largest union in Italy, institutional union, which is called CGIL, they called for a 4-hour strike in support against the genocide in Gaza and for Palestine, and in support of the Samud Flotilla. Also, the global Samud Flotilla has really captured the heart of the Mediterranean people. And one of the things is that all of these flotillas are leaving from Italy. So Italy feels more a direct connection to these flotillas that continue to part from Sicily. And especially the Global Samud Flotilla has really captured the hearts and the imaginations of Italians from all walks of life. On Friday, the largest institutional union called for this 4-hour strike. But this was seen almost as maybe a diversionary tactic. People don't have a lot of trust and faith in these large institutional unions, the political establishment. I mean, we have had support from the opposition parties, the Green Party, the Five Star Party, and some waxing and waning support from the Democratic Party, which is the largest opposition party. But within that party, you also have a Zionist pro-Israel faction. But especially the Green and Left Alliance has been very strong in supporting Palestine, at least for over the last year. Not directly from the beginning after October 7th, but really for the last year. So back to Friday, they had this 4-hour strike that was protests in piazzas across the country, and quite significant because it was the first time an institutional union had called for a strike for Palestine. But this grassroots unions, they're called unions from below, that aren't institutional but have a broad kind of grassroots connection. They called for this strike on Monday. So they're not really representing institutional workers. It's not it's really a movement from below, and nobody really knew what to expect. Okay, the authorities on Monday, for example, at the central train station in Rome, were expecting 8,000 people to show up. We didn't know what to expect, but I started to think, okay, something is happening when, for example, my daughter, who is 17 years old, and she lives in a city called Empoli near Florence in Tuscany. She said, tomorrow I'm going on strike, and so is my school. I said, oh, that's great. Okay, this is good news. Then the night before, my niece, who's 16 years old, she called me and she said, Uncle, do you have a flag that I can borrow? So I said, sure, you can borrow a flag. Okay. So Monday comes and we wake up like normal. I live in Rome. When I'm in Rome, my companion, Alessandra, her son goes to school across the street. He's in middle school. So he went to school like normal because we didn't know how many teachers are going to adhere to the strike or not. It's an individual choice to join the strike. So he goes to school like normal. The school's right across the street. I'm seeing buses go by like normal. I'm thinking, this is just going to be a normal day. So as Francesco's school starts to open and the students start to go in, all of a sudden, I start to see crowds of students from the middle and elementary school leaving the school. I thought, what's going on? And then the preside, or the principal, the director of the school, came out with a megaphone to announce that many of the classes wouldn't be held because the teachers were on strike for the genocide in Gaza. I'm hearing this from the window. And I thought, wow, this is maybe something special going on. Then from our window, we start hearing chanting from the piazza down below. Now, we're not in the center of Rome. It's still considered the outskirts of the center, but it's maybe 3 kilometers from Termini to walk, okay? So we went down to the piazza underneath our house, and there was a crowd, a march of students, high school students, together in the piazza. We joined them, walked up to one of the major streets of Rome, which was completely blocked with demonstrators coming from 3 kilometers away all the way to the station. And this was happening simultaneously all over the city, pouring out of support of teachers, students. I'm telling you, we walked past on this main thoroughfare a school for the deaf, okay? And in this school for the deaf, the teachers were bringing out children that were kindergartners, lining the streets, chanting Free Palestine, okay? I was crying. When we arrived to this march, my niece was in front with a smoke bomb, one of these fumagini we call in Italian, with the pouring out red smoke. The main chant is, "We are all anti-Zionists. We are all anti-fascists. We are all Palestinians." And these are young people, teachers, people from all walks of life. When we arrived to Termini, it was something I've never seen before. It was, they say, 300,000 people in Rome, but this was happening on the island of Procida, which part of my heart wanted to be here. The entire island was shut down. Businesses were closed. All the schools were closed. They said it was the largest march they ever remember happening on the island of Procida. And this was happening in towns and cities. Procida is an island, 10,000 people, all over the country simultaneously. Train stations shut down, ports shut down, to demand that this Italian government, still complicit, under the thumb of Trump, complicit with Netanyahu, lying to the public, saying that they're not selling arms and cooperating with Israel, which has been exposed. The media narrative has shifted here. Nobody's buying it anymore. Nobody's believing it. And the people are seeing through it. Really quick, just one more thing. When they blocked the expressway in Rome, the people in the cars, Romans get angry if you block their cars. Extinction Rebellion, every once in a while, blocks their cars. People throw them off the road, cuss them out. The people were cheering, honking their horns, getting out of their cars and joining with the demonstration. Never seen before. I mean, I get emotional just talking about it. Thanks. That's for now. Good. I'll
Yeah,
stop.
thank you so much, Michael. That laid the overview of the situation. Michaela Occhipenti is a well-known film director and also a leader of a free citizens movement in Roma. And Michaela, you were earlier, talking to me briefly about the Meloni government and how it has been complicit in the genocide. What is the message that you think that the Italian public overwhelmingly deliver to the people in power?
Well, yesterday we went marching from a square in Rome in the center to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, asking for them to step down, because we cannot accept having a government who is complicit in genocide, in war crimes, in crimes against humanity, and trying to legitimate something that is completely against any sort of international law. The media have been complicit, most media have been complicit for nearly 2 years now, because they have been exactly writing the opposite, using a language that is so wrong, calling Palestinians death as they're dead. There's no subject of the action that created their assassination, whereas the Israeli victims have been killed, and they have been describing Hind Rajab, a 6-year-old girl, as a young lady. I mean, how can we accept this? I was listening to Michael recalling about Monday. I was feeling emotional too, because I cried many times during that demonstration. I've been there at the railway station from 11, following all the march until 6 in the afternoon. We've been where we blocked the roads, and it's true, drivers were happy, they were honking, they were clapping, they were happy. It's the first time I was filled with joy, because I realized that not everything is lost, that a lot of people still have an ethical sense, a human sense, but also with a lot of regret that this didn't happen more than a year and a half ago. I don't understand how we weren't able to awaken consciences before. And I think that the global Sumut Flotilla, compared to the other flotillas that have a huge importance because they paved the way, really changed the people's minds and hearts, because they were able to put together so many people with so many boats of so many different nationalities, and it led so many people who had a sense of despair but felt completely powerless, to see how, if so many people leave their jobs, leave their houses, leave their daughters, their sons, their everything, to get into a humanitarian, non-violent mission to try to open a humanitarian and political corridor to break the siege in Gaza. So I am obliged, and I can do my part. I can go demonstrate in the street. I can call my government. I need to speak out. I need to act. A lot of people who never took action before, Monday showed up in a way that was peaceful and full of love, but participation and belief that we must change things, because our government will not. We have to show dissent. We have to overthrow them. And we need to use every means possible in a peaceful way, but we need to, when they said, okay, they touch again the flotilla, we must block everything. We must block everything now, before there are more deaths, more wounded people among Palestinians in Gaza, among Palestinians in the occupied Palestine, and also among the flotilla. Because I was with them in Catania and Augusta. I subscribed, I was assigned to a boat, but unfortunately, after 12 days of doing the training, I withdrew, because I was too afraid, worried for my daughter. So I salute and have all my respect for all these humans that embarked, leaving their daughters, their sons, everything. And they were definitely braver than I was. And I want to follow them all the step of the way. But they are the first ones who say, don't take off your eyes from Palestine. The goal is Palestine. We are a means. We are a means to wake up our complicit governments, so that they have to move. Now, Spain sent a military ship. Italy sent 2 military ships. Greece has sent a ship that will stay with them for only in their territorial waters. But still, our defense minister yesterday said, once the flotilla gets into Israeli waters, we cannot protect them. But those are not Israeli waters. Those are Palestinian waters, illegally occupied by Israel. So there is no right. They are breaching every international law that was ever created, and our governments too. So we, the people, have to stand up and never stop for 1 second, being active all day, all night.
Yeah, thank you. I think Italian people set the example of what could be accomplished. Yeah, I couldn't possibly see a Maloney regime sending a naval frigate without that. The September 22nd nationwide basically revolt against the regime, as you said, complicit with Israel. And well, we are trying to do what we can on land, because the flotilla organizers asked those of us who are unable to get on, or who did not get a chance to get on the on any of the ship, to hold events, and then to keep the spotlight on the on the Samud Flotilla. And then, so thank you so much. And I also tried to get on, but I applied late, and there are 26,000 people who wanted to get on, and I did not get on. And so I'm doing my bit, and like you have done, and you're doing your bit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, I know you have a Al Jazeera appointment, and so stay as much as you can. And if you have to go, you can log off.
No, I still have time. I will stay with you for half an hour.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll come back to you again. Yeah.
Okay.
The next speaker is from the Priests Against Genocide. It's a very new network established by over 1,600 priests from around the world in about 50 different countries. When I was in the West Bank for the second time in January, our small delegation had a chance to meet with the Reverend Dr. Munta Isaac, and he and other Palestinian Christians. You see, this is not just, this is not the issue of like a Muslim versus the Jewish religion or Muslim versus Jews. There are so many Palestinian Christians, atheists, and communists, and of course, like millions of Muslims as well. But the Munta Isaac was really pained to say that the church had not taken a strong stance against the genocide, despite the fact that the later Pope, was talking to the Palestinians in Gaza. I suppose every other Sunday while he was still capable of communicating and preaching. And then, so can we invite, let me invite Father Pietro Rossini to share his thoughts on his group's mission and what he set out to, or they set out to accomplish.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here today. I just want to start with a small story that came to my mind when Michael was talking. Really, the conscience has changed a lot in Italy. So I reached Rome from Parma on a strike day, which is not easy, but I was able to. And when I came out from the station, I was wearing the keffiyeh and, of course, the collar and so on. And people outside say, "Oh, even priests are striking, are going on a strike." I said, wow. I realized, I said, yeah, that's a sign. That's a very beautiful sign of everybody coming together to show up when we see injustice, we cannot be silent. But, I want just to start with this, but I prepared a small presentation, very small, very short, of our group and the prayer we had on the 22nd. So thank you so much. I'm here on behalf of the network Priests Against Genocide to share what happened in Rome on September 22nd and why we chose to gather in prayer and public testimony. First, a word on who we are and where we stand today. Priests Against Genocide is a network born from below, parish priests, religious, diocesan clergy, and bishops who felt compelled as pastors and citizens to lift up a voice for life, justice, and peace. As of today, our public statement has been signed by more than 1,700 clergy from 51 countries, including 1 cardinal and 19 bishops. That wide diverse support is significant. It says our concern crosses borders, languages, and church roles. It is shared by shepherds whose daily work is the defense of every human life. Now, about the date, on 22nd, our vigil was scheduled for Monday, September 22nd, for a precise reason. It stood on the threshold of the United Nations General Assembly sessions beginning September 23rd. We wanted to place our prayer, our most distinct contribution as clergy, in the same global horizon where nations deliberate on war, justice, and peace. I want to say this clearly. Our date was not chosen in response to the general strike. It coincided with other mobilization, but our intention and our calendar were tied to the UN agenda, not to the strike. We came not to escalate tensions, but to widen the space for conscience. what did we do in Rome? We began in the Church of Sant'Andrea al Quirinale for a time of prayer that wove together 5 languages: Italian, English, French, Spanish, and Arabic, which is the language in which Palestinian people pray, Christian Palestinian people. Because the suffering we carry in our hearts speaks many tongues. The liturgy was enriched by music, was not a rally, not a spectacle, but an earnest act of faith before God and human family. From there, we moved into the streets in a simple procession, carrying drawings by the artist Gianluca Costantini titled "Christ Died in Gaza." Images that echo the gospel's sober question: when I was hungry, thirsty, a stranger, did you see me? That's the final judgment. We paused at significant civic places, prayed, read poems and testimonies from Palestine, and concluded in the public square on Montecitorio. And we know it's the Camera Deputati in Montecitorio. It was prayer in public, not a performance, an invitation to remember the human faces behind the headlines. Palestinians are not numbers, there are stories behind them. And we wanted to ask for peace that is strong enough to be just. Why a vigil and why as a priest? Because our first language as priest is love according to the gospel. We did not speak as partisans, we spoke as pastors. We believe with Pope Francis that war is always a defeat for humanity and for hope, and that the work of peace requires truth-telling about every victim and every perpetrator. In that spirit, our network has consistently condemned all violence, including the terror attacks of October 7th and every act that targets civilians. And we have raised our voices with particular urgency about the ongoing devastation and genocide in Gaza, where the disproportionate use of force and the mass death of innocents cry out for justice. To say this is not to be against people, it is to be unconditionally for every human life, Israeli and Palestinian alike. This is the moral grammar we carry into the public square. Let me underline what our network asks, always as a matter of conscience and law, not party politics. We ask for the protection of civilians and for respect of international humanitarian law. We ask for the honest application of the principles of our own constitution upholds and for our country's alignment with international commitments that prohibit arming those who commit crimes against civilians. Before we said that Italy, arms Israel. We ask for independent investigation into all atrocities before and after October 7. It didn't start on October 7. Because reconciliation without truth is fragile, and peace without justice is shallow. These are not noble demands. They are the minimum that dignity and law require. Some will say, if you wish to pray, why do it publicly? Why on a day of protests? I understand the question. We chose public prayer because there are moments when the sacred duty of intercession must be visible, audible, and shared. In time of scandalous suffering, faith cannot be confined to sacristies. Our presence in the streets was a way to say that the church belongs in places where life is threatened and the hope is thin. We did not chant slogans. We proclaimed lament and hope and told the stories of Palestinian people. We did not trade in outrage. We entrusted our sorrow to God and appealed to the conscience of our nations. Others will ask, what difference does prayer make? Why to pray, right? Go in the street and just, be with other people protesting, right? I'll answer in 2 ways. First, prayer changes us. It disarms the heart, makes us more honest about our complicity, and steadies our courage to act. Second, prayer, when united to truth and concrete choices, can shift the atmosphere in which public decisions are made. The faces we carried, the names we spoke, the silence we kept, these are not theatrics. They are a way to insist that policymaking remember its first principle. Every life is precious. Now, also Palestinian life is precious. It must be defended. And that is why our region was framed by three verbs: to pray, to witness, and to act. To pray. To pray for the end of the genocide of the Palestinian people and the mass killing, for the release of hostages and all civilians unlawfully detained. There are not just the hostages in Gaza, there are also many prisoners and hostages in Israel that are Palestinian. For leaders who will risk the hard work of negotiation, to witness in our parishes and dioceses by teaching, by interfaith cooperation, by pastoral care that refuses both anti-Semitism and every dehumanization of Palestinians. To act through letters to legislators, through lawfully advocacy for ceasefire and humanitarian access, and through the refusal to be indifferent when weapons speak louder than conscience. These are the commitments we set for ourselves as a network, and they are open to every person of good will. Let me close by returning to the image we carried. Christ died in Gaza. It is a stark sentence, and some find it provocative, but for us, it names a truth at the heart of our faith. Christ identifies himself with the crucified of history. Wherever the innocent suffer, Jesus is there. Jesus is in the Palestinian people. If that is true, then our prayer is not withdrawal, it is participation. Standing beside the wounded, refusing to avert our eyes, asking God to make us instrument of a peace that is disarmed and disarming, strong enough to stop the killing and humble enough to heal. And I conclude, September 22nd in Rome was a beginning, not an end. We will continue to pray in public when necessary, to speak with pastoral clarity, and to work with every partner, religious and civic, who seeks a just peace. And we will keep counting not only on signature, but more importantly, the communities willing to convert concern into courage. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. This is a very, very powerful and clear break from the church's history of, the staying quiet at best during the time of Nazi genocide, and also very sharp contrast from the Christian Zionists that have funded and pour more fuel into the genocide because they think that the second coming is for them. And so I think, this message of yours should be amplified worldwide. And I really pray that your movement grow stronger, goes from strength to strength. And so thank you so much for taking the time to speak on this subject. And then the next speaker is Sister Lubna Saipton, and she is from Greenwich. She's Palestinian, and she will talk about her experience, the working to activate the trade unions and labor unions and others in United Kingdom. She's also a very accomplished artist. She has suspended her life as an artist since the genocide began to devote her life to giving the voice to those who cannot speak for themselves. Lubna?
Oh, thank you for your introduction, and it's great to be here with you guys, and I thank you for your exhaustive work as well. Italy have definitely paved the way for a lot to follow, and hopefully is the catalyst for others to follow suit and take that action. We're trying to implement the same here. Now, to begin, we formed our group at the beginning of this genocide, during which time 56 of our own family have been slaughtered, and now the rest sadly under attack in the West Bank. I've returned from the West Bank about 7 weeks ago now. The situation was dire enough when I was there. Every aspect of their life is, I won't even use the word life, it's existence. Under the boot of the oppressor, it's horrendous. It's beyond description. It's just every area is dictated, is oppressed. The dehumanization through the checkpoints, the drones, the control, the intimidation. you'd sit there and sort of have your coffee and you're hearing gunshots. Oh, it's another Palestinian killed. You know, this is, it's just like normal commonplace. You've got the rifts, you know, even the destruction in the streets. There's no maintenance, giant potholes, waste burning in the middle of the streets because no one clears it. Oh, it's down to the Palestinian Authority. They say, oh, it's down to the Israelis because they're the occupying force. And the Palestinians are just left literally by the world for decades. And then, as you say, we know this didn't begin on the 7th. This is decades of oppression and occupation. And now they want to pay lip service and have these token gestures and symbolic gestures of, oh, we recognize a Palestinian state now. This is what our country have done. Yeah, they recognize a state, right? The nail in the coffin of apartheid. That's what this is. You know, they're like as though it's going to wave them and cleanse their blood-filled hands and blood-lined pockets as they continue to drop the bombs on us and supply the arms, supply the drones and the tech that hunts Palestinians. We know this is nothing but a facade. It's we will not stop until we have full liberation of our people, because until there is this, you know, they're still it's the maintenance of apartheid and the continuation of genocide. There is no justice in that. If this can continue to happen to the Palestinians now, in spite of us witnessing for the first time in history a live stream genocide, we have to ask ourselves who next and when. It is something that we have to oppose in its entirety, in the same way we would not tolerate a Nazi Germany. We have to oppose a Zionist Israeli settler colonial state. There is no justification, and we will not stop. And when I came back from the West, I didn't want to leave my family. It was the most painstaking goodbye to make, to have to walk away and know this could be the last goodbye. You know, is this the last time? Sorry. Is this the last time to see our family? The land which my father, he grew up in, and the streets he ran in with his uncles and aunties. It's unbearable. And they said to me as I was leaving Lebanon, you must go back. If you stay here, you'll be like the rest of your cousins. You'll either be shot, crippled, put in prisons, tortured. This is the life of Palestinians. Their only crime is being a Palestinian. And they said to me, please go back. You can do more from there. Be the voices and say the things that we can't. We're silenced here. You cannot wear your keffiyeh. You cannot wear your little necklace that you've worn since childhood. This is the life of Palestinians. And I gave them my word that I will go back. I will not be silenced. I will fight until my last breath. They have to put a bullet in my head to stop me. This is our duty. I will hold that torch for them, for my father, for our family, for those they have slaughtered, and for those who are left. We cannot give up. And unfortunately, the governments, as you know here, absolutely complicit, not complicit, participant in this genocide, guilty. They should all be at the goddamn Hague. And we are fighting against that, against the definitions that they use to silence us. Like, you might be familiar with the IHRA and Jerusalem Declaration, anti-Semitism. All of these things are weaponized to silence our voices, to suppress people in the movement from speaking, from fighting. They have to be challenged. Every aspect has to be challenged. We're challenging their investments in Israel. And then this has led us to worker-led action. This is the most powerful thing we have here. Apart from supporting international military intervention and organizing and supporting our right to resist, our resistance, we have that right under their international law and UN charters. But here, we have to push for union-led, trade union-led and worker-led action, like you guys have done. Unfortunately, this has been destroyed following Margaret Thatcher's reign. Absolutely obliterated the trade unions. We have a lot of work to rebuild from the ground. The activists are taking so many risks here, and groups are being prescribed as terrorist organizations for taking non-violent direct action to stop the weapons, to stop the drones. You might have heard of the group Palestine Action, facing trial for trying to stop genocide. Yet those who are participant in it, not held to any account. We will hold them. That time will come. And but together there's actions that can be taken, whether it's from the grassroots movements, from on the ground direct actions, or through worker-led actions. And we're hoping we can combine the two and organize them. We have been in talks at the moment with some of the ports and the dock workers. Unfortunately, there's a lot of apathy, there's a lot of dismay and unwillingness to take action because of the threat of job loss. So we're trying to challenge the management the unions, we've managed to push. I got myself involved with the union. I'm now the Equalities Officer and Palestine Officer for Unite Glab community here, to push these resolutions in support of Palestine. Through the unions, there's many that have been adopted and now become policy. Now what we need to do is bypass all the bureaucrats and the officials who have been preventing the action taking place. We have to force them to implement it. So now we're trying to encourage the workers to acknowledge you have the power to do this. And you guys in Italy have been like a prime example of that, the power of workers. And we're trying to initiate the actions here. We will be in talks with other ports. We are at the moment engaged with them, and there's several different types of actions that we're taking. Obviously at this stage, I'm limited to what I can divulge on here. We're hoping something will happen, but if it doesn't come from the workers or the unions, then we are ready to take that action. But we cannot sit silently in the face of this injustice. Whoever has to take this action, it has to be done. And we are urging all the workers across the UK and internationally to take that action. We are in talks with our comrades in Genoa, in Spain, in Greece, Cyprus and Marseille, working with trade unionist Mick Flynn, who organised the Marseille action and was up in Genoa. We're working very closely and looking at forming another trade unionists for Palestine, a group where we can bring together those trade unionists under one belt and push this. So as we call it here, rank and file action. So if we can't get this in official ways, it's going to have to come from the ground. It's the only way. But yeah, we really appreciate everything that everyone has done. And it is a brilliant example. We have shared that with the workers here. There is a lot of willingness from others on the ground. And we are mobilizing other workers in different fields to also encourage, inform and be the catalyst for those at the docks and transport workers to say, okay, whatever field you're in, whatever union you're in, there's still so much more that can be done. And you need to get them to implement the long-standing policies they have in place, otherwise implement them, then force them, create new ones, and take that action from the ground. And our best defense is in numbers, power in numbers. We'll be an unstoppable force. And this is the encouragement we're trying to give to everyone across the movement, wherever you are in the world, that we are one united force. And what's happening now in Genoa and with the Flotilla is a prime example of how a united force can reclaim and change those things. But I'd like to thank you all again for all your efforts and everyone out there who's been pushing for Palestine. Until we have liberation of the Palestinians, none of us will be free.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Lubna. I think maybe what needs to happen is that to have a few brilliant organizers like the panelists here from Italy come over to have meetings with the trade unionists and anyone who wants to learn from the Italian example. Then like vice versa, like some of us can go over to Italy and forge this bond of solidarity among support networks, and not just like with the Palestinians in Palestine, but among the organizers across Europe. On land, the flotilla is happening. So I think like Michaela may have to go in the next 15-20 minutes, and so I would like to give her a chance to share her thoughts before she leaves, and the rest of us can extend for another 10-15 minutes if need be. Michaela, you must know that the flagship of the flotilla family, or the Gaza city renamed, has been incapacitated. The engine's no longer working, and so can you give us an update on what is happening with the flotilla? Also, like how Israeli regime is responding. They said that they're going to attack any ship that comes into basically the killing fields of Gaza. Now that the killing fields are extended to the waters, not just the land. Yeah, and so
But the Zionist entity has grabbed the territorial waters of Palestine a long time ago, grabbing everything. They grab everything about the Zionist entity is illegal. They grab the airspace, they grab the land, they grab the sea, everything. So as far as I know, because I'm in contact with a friend who is a journalist on one of the ships, of one of the sailing boats, sorry, that has been attacked, and that has the mainsail ripped, and how do you call it? The mast broken. The Familia has problems with the engines. They still don't know what the cause is. They are relocating the participants to other boats. They spent all day yesterday anchored in Kufunissi. Anyway, everybody can know because there's a tracker of the global Sumut Flotilla, and they've been in a big long meeting all day, and they decided to go ahead. They don't want to stop. They want to break the siege in Gaza. They are doing everything in a completely legal way. The governments who are sending ships should have done this on their own. Every government should have avoided having their citizens leave. They should have done it on their own. They should have sent all of their military ships to Gaza, because it is their right. In fact, it is their duty. It should be their duty to break the siege and to end this illegal occupation that has been going on for over 77 years. So a little thing I wanted to add, I'm not the leader of any group. The Free Citizens Movement for Palestine, occupying the square in front of the Italian parliament, is a grassroots movement. We're all equals. There is no chain of anything, and we want to keep it this way. It's a bit chaotic, but it's good because it's free. And also, I am part of the Venice for Palestine, which has the great merit, especially my comrades. I was not in Venice, but I helped them a little. We were able to have so many signatures of, let's say, people who have a big follower, many followers, many fans, a big fan base. And the letter that was written to the Biennale and to the Venice Film Festival gave a big, let's say, a big sprint to the actors and artists and directors who came together and signed. I think the number got to 4,000 internationally, who said they will not do business with Israel. And that's a very big, important step. And we have to enlarge that. And also, I'm part of Artists for Gaza, and of a collective called Collettivo Occhi sulla Palestina. We have a lot of groups. All of us have other groups. What happened is that the Global Sumut Flotilla was able to put all these people together on the 22nd. And the thing is, we must not stop. We must block everything. Now, it's fantastic that you take us guys as an example, but it's been the dock workers who initiated this. And when they said, but why are they doing it only because there's the flotilla? Because finally, when they had the flotilla, they had 50,000 citizens backing them up, which they didn't have before. So we have to start doing actions and bringing people in. A lot of people disagree with some that are have been silent till now, but we have to get everybody in. Then there's going to come the time to be critical, but now we have to let everybody in. We have to be masses. We have to be a huge amount of people, because only if we are masses of people in every country are we able to really make a difference and push our governments to change their policies. Because there was the 22nd of September, the defense minister sent these ships. Nothing is going to happen, because the ships are not going to follow them till where it starts to be really dangerous. But it's a message. It's a message that they will have to change policies if we stick together and we act every day. We block and we denounce, we protest. And so we will never stop, never.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I want to give a big hug to Lubna.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, we will all meet. You will meet Lubna, like, in, maybe she should come over to Italy to
yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Thank you all.
Michael, do you want to share your thoughts on how this work can be connected with the anti-Zionist work in USA? But you were just there like about a month or so ago with your daughter visiting places. You are muted.
I didn't step foot in the United States since before COVID. I don't know if I ever will again. I was in Canada, and so we made some links in Canada. The situation in Canada is very repressive, similar to what's going on similar to what's going on all across the Western colonialist world, where these racist white Europeans are trying to impose this Zionist vision on us all to make it illegal to criticize Israel, like they're doing now, Salvini in Italy, with the crazy law that we can't criticize Israel is illegal, like they're doing in England with the Palestine action. The repression in Canada was strong, but we saw Palestinian solidarity everywhere we went. And we made connections with the Palestinian community there. I think it's important to encourage and enhance this international solidarity and do these exchanges. And I want to reinforce how important the dock workers are in Geneva. These have always historically been known as some of the bravest and strongest union workers in the world. And they are beautiful. And it is their leadership, along with the Global Samud Flotilla, that really inspired this movement here. I contacted recently a friend of mine who works with the longshoremen, dock workers in New York and New Jersey, which also traditionally, historically, has a radical reputation for doing strikes and things. He said that the leadership of that union has completely sold out to Trump, completely. So he said it would, and I also want to reinforce, because of what Lubna was saying, of her trying to reach out and work through the power structure of the unions. What happened on Monday, and and it hasn't stopped on Monday. On Tuesday, there were wildcat demonstrations all over Italy. On Wednesday, massive demonstration in the streets of Naples. So it's continuing. It's continuing every day, and it's going to continue. But we did not have support of any institutional forces for what happened on Monday. This was all from the rank and file. No major union supported this. It's all from the rank and file, from the grassroots, spontaneous uprising of the people. And that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. And we just need to keep going. And I thank all of you. I feel such an honor to be part of this discussion today. And I watched the press conference of the Flotilla yesterday. It was amazing. It's amazing to me that they're able to even have these press conferences. And everybody's under attack everywhere. Okay, I write for Counterpunch. Counterpunch has been under attack for weeks. Their servers are under attack every day. They have to use their private emails instead of their official emails because they're getting hacked all the time. So this is happening all across, but the people have the power. The people have the power, and now, like never before, we were watching yesterday a statement from Roger Waters, his most recent statement, and he tied all the anti-colonialist struggles together. Decolonize America. That's what has to happen. From Michela Occhipenti to everybody, goodbye and thank you. Bye, Michela. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you so much. It's beautiful.
Week.
It's beautiful to spend time with humans. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Goodbye.
May I ask Father Rossini if he has any a final thought to share, and then I'll give the last word to Lubna.
Sure. Just something. Also, we got blocked our account got blocked, Priests Against Genocide, so we didn't have any access to the email and the signatures we had. So also when you express your vision, it's always like that. I mean, guys, Google signed $43 billion deal with Israel, so Anyway, a final word I want to say this. I think what moved the people in Italy and all over the world is this changing in narrative that we are seeing, as we said before. I just want to share this small story. It happened to me last 2 years ago. So after the 7th of October, 2 weeks after, I celebrated Mass in another parish far away from Parma, near Cremona. And I was celebrating Mass, and I called in the homily what's happening there 2 weeks after the 7th of October, a genocide. I explicitly said the word. I called out people to pray for Palestinian people, for the ending of the genocide, and so on. After the Mass, so many people entered the sacristy and said, "Father, you shouldn't do politics. You shouldn't talk about this from there." I had another Mass on the same day. 3 people left the church while I was preaching and saying the same words. So this was 2 years ago. Now things have changed. The mentality of people, the awareness on what's happening in Gaza has changed because the narrative is changing. And I think this is the way we can change also and make more movements like this and more protests and more, speak up more if we change the narrative around what's happening in Gaza. And we need to thank also people that show us images from there, the journalists who were killed. 285 journalists lost their lives because they were telling the truth. Without them, we could not shape this narrative that enabled us to do what happened on the 22nd.
Yeah, thank you very much. This Israeli Jewish professor named Amos Goldberg at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, he said Israel has 2 iron domes. One is a literal iron dome that Iranian missiles finally penetrated and essentially incapacitated. And the other one is a discursive iron dome. The narrative, like people occupying the land without people, right? The people without land, the land without people. That narrative, that one is demolished already, and Lubna has been trying to demolish another discursive dome, which is the Zionism. Zionism, like we discussed it so many times with her and others. Zionism is the 21st century, the fascism, and Israel is built on the Zionism. Therefore, Israel is today the 2025 equivalent of Nazi Germany. They're not simply by genocide, by its mode of existence, ideology, foundation, the mindset. And so, Lubna, do you want to talk about why it's important not to accept the 2 states and not to accept the Zionism in any manifestations?
Because ultimately it is normalizing and accepting our people having to exist under these brutal conditions. That is the underpinning of the existence of that state. It is a racist ethno-nationalist state built on Jewish supremacy. I find it a struggle when you try to explain this to people and they cannot seem to apprehend like how that's a problem. You would like, this is racism, this is supremacy, and you're saying that based on superioritizing the group of one people's rights over others. Like, is this what you really think a God would want? Is to permit the mass slaughter of his other creation, of the indigenous people to that region, of people who did nothing, that weren't the perpetrators of the crimes against the Jews, but those who, many of them, welcomed the Jews who were expelled by the West and their colonial oppressors, who sit there and when they do these crocodile commemorations, like, really, okay, so this is not even about the guilt. You are making the Palestinians pay the price for your crimes which they did not commit, and you justify that because you're still, and I don't use the word anti-Semitic, it's about Jewish hate. You know, it's their own anti-Jewish hate. And because they don't want to make amends, or say to those Jews, okay, come back to your homes that we expelled you from. No, we don't want you here. We're going to enforce like this existence, this normalization of the Palestinian land grab. You know, here's our imperialist watchdog of the Middle East. Let's reinforce that. It's the absolute hypocrisy, the double standards, the racism. It beggars belief that you sit here and you go on about all these commemorations of the Holocaust of this group of people, that group, and then here we are witnessing it live streamed. There is no justification and any normalization of that. You know, whether it's groups, there are different types of groups out there. It's like they pose as Israeli-Palestinian groups. Again, these are groups who deny us the right to return. Groups, you know, you want to, okay, talk about standing together, smash down those apartheid walls, break down those checkpoints, you know, join the resistance, support the Palestinians and their right to resist. But as long as that state exists, so too will the subjugation, because it's built upon the subjugation of our people. And so there will never be liberation for our people as long as that exists. It is based on racism. It is based on fascism. And we will never have peace. And when they talk about the two states, that is them just literally trying to draw a line and say, okay, we are concretizing this state. We're going to normalize and justify. And again, it's what we've seen. This is the colonialist oppressors at play, and it's denying our right to exist, to resist, to return. It's a mass ethnic cleansing. And it's all just a token gesture. As long as they're going to still rain down hell upon us and will not allow our people to be liberated fully, this is what we'll face. It's like an indefinite period until the people rise, until we're afforded that right to resist. And others, again, is support the mass boycott. And that includes, even like with our demands to ports and those that act, and we're working with groups across the movements to say we cannot limit it to just arms. Here, what they're doing is they're splitting weapons into separate containers. So you might have a warhead in one, a shell or casing in the other, to bypass declaring it on the lading. So the workers don't even know what's going in these containers. They're going to be able to go through every container. And we're saying we are more than justified. When it was South Africa apartheid, it was a full blanket ban of everything, full boycott, full divestment, full sanctions, and nothing less should be demanded for Palestine. And so much worse is happening there. We're more than justified to say every shipment to and from Israel must cease, must end completely, permanently, indefinitely, nothing. And not just limited to weapons, because Israel, as we know, is an apartheid state committing genocide. And all that does, anything going to or from it, continues the maintenance of that apartheid and now genocide. So this is why we're talking about the full dismantlement. And this can happen. I wish I could live long enough to see it in our lifetime, and God help me, I won't stop fighting for it. But we will plant those seeds for the next generation, and we can't give up. We can't let that go. We have to work collectively, and until there's full liberation, that's it. We can't stop until there is.
Thank you so much. We will end our 1 hour dialogue on this very inspiring note from Lubna and other inspirational messages from all of you. And thank you so much. And we will meet again, and we will share the contact details among all the panelists, if with your permission. And thanks again, and free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Thank you, guys.